Wave of Conviction has often been used as a utility skill in Path of Exile. The way many of you might have used it in the past is as a handy way to add exposure to an enemy. It was a great way to add either fire or lightning exposure. For cold, you generally wanted to use Frostbomb as it was a little bit finicky, but it could be done with a bit of effort. But that's not all that Wave of Conviction can do. In fact, it has surprisingly impressive base damages for a utility skill, especially one with no cooldown. At level 20, Wave of Conviction has 1,476 to 2,214 physical damage. Half of this will be dealt as physical damage, and the remaining damage will be converted 25 to lightning and 25 to fire. This is because it's from the Holy Skill archetype, a series of skills that focused on converting physical damage into either fire, lightning, or in Wave of Conviction's case, both. And if we compare that to Purifying Flame, another holy skill with a fairly long cast time that's known for doing fairly high damage, well, Purifying Flame at level 20 deals 1,324 to 1,986 physical damage, and gains roughly 10% less effectiveness of added damage. In other words, if we're just talking about hitting hard, Wave of Conviction is significantly better than Purifying Flame. But a lot of people use Purifying Flame as their damage skill, and almost no one uses Wave of Conviction, which might seem a little bit puzzling if you just look at damage numbers, but is easily explained by the skill's behaviors. Purifying Flame is very good at clearing maps, and after impacting with enemies, it spreads consecrated ground, which causes shockwaves whenever you cast Purifying Flame again, therefore hitting more enemies. Wave of Conviction, on the other hand, works a little bit differently, and its mechanics aren't actually very good at clearing maps, because you can only have one Wave of Conviction active at a given time. So, if I cast Wave of Conviction here, I'll create a damaging cone that spreads out as it reaches the end of its duration. The cone will spread farther if you have more AoE, and it will also spread farther if you have a longer duration. But let's say I'm using something like Spell Echo, or otherwise casting it quickly. Well, if I do that, then, as you can see, the wave doesn't spread nearly as far. As I cast a new Wave of Conviction, the old one is immediately removed and replaced by the new wave. This means the skill behaves almost like a short-range shotgun, rather than a long-range ability, something that isn't necessarily ideal in Path of Exile, since if you're casting quickly, you won't be able to kill enemies towards the edge of your screen, which means your clear speed will be much slower. At least, your clear speed will be slower if you're constantly casting, not using explodey effects, or not proliferating ignites, which gets into some potential uses for Wave of Conviction as a damaging skill. But if you've liked this look at the mechanics of Wave of Conviction, do be sure to leave a like on the video, as that really helps me out with the YouTube algorithm. For more Path of Exile content, sub to the channel and ring the bell to be notified whenever I upload. Finally, if you have any questions about Wave of Conviction or other elements of Path of Exile, the best place to ask is in my Discord. Link will be down in the description. So now that I've explained what Wave of Conviction is, why it's actually pretty good, and some of the mechanical shortcomings that keep it from being popular, what are some examples where it might be used? Unfortunately, you can't really cheese this one wave limit. You could throw out 20 mines, but each one will only be able to spawn one Wave of Conviction. That said, if you're using Wave of Conviction mines, it's not nearly as problematic that you constantly consume and recast them, as each mine will target a different enemy and kill that group very efficiently. On the other hand, you could use something like an explodey chest, so you kill the enemies at the front of a pack directly with Wave of Conviction, and the explosions kill everything else. Or you could do what I'm doing in this video and play a Wave of Conviction Ignite build. If you're Ignite, the Ignite prolif will spread through the pack, even if you only hit enemies towards the front. Also, because you only need to hit things once to inflict an Ignite on them, you're not as worried about losing that AoE. You can just kind of let the wave go, and it'll cover a large portion of your screen, dealing damage over a wide area. It won't necessarily be as instantaneous as something like Purifying Flame, but at the end of the day, it still gets the job done in an efficient manner. These, of course, aren't the only ways to do it. If you want more close-range damage, you could easily trigger with Cast on Crit Strike, or if you wanted to project your damage better, you could do something like Wave of Conviction Totems. Although, again, remember, sometimes things get a little bit janky as multiple sources are trying to cast. I actually think currently, Wave of Conviction is in a pretty good spot. It's a skill that's definitely on the underrated side of things. You'll have to build around it, and you'll have to be aware of its mechanical quirks, but if you're able to do that, you should get a lot more damage than you might have otherwise expected. And it's competitive with other physical skills that are known for being high damage. Think Purifying Flame, Exsanguinate, or Reap. And so, I'm curious, have you ever played Wave of Conviction as a damaging main skill? Or, if not, do you plan to? And what are the specifics of how you did it? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, be sure to put them down in the comments below, or join the Discord, where you can ask questions, get build help, and hang out with the community. A special thanks to my patrons and YouTube channel members. They're awesome, and they get to show it by having their name on screen in the credits of all my videos. So if you want to see your name here, be sure to check the link in the description. For more general gaming content, check out my second channel, 10 Gaming Thoughts, and if you want a water bottle or a cool shirt, I have a link to my official merch shop in the description. I hope you learned something today, and I hope to see you again sometime soon.